2019, a deep space anomaly was detected by a satellite 100 miles off the dark side of the Moon. It consisted of space matter, dust, and unknown properties, and it had the general appearance of the remnants of a supernova. The object itself was about 100 meters in diameter, with parts of it stretching even further. It was very bright, with hues of green, yellow, purple, and pink. But in the middle, it was pitch black, as if it was a tunnel reaching into the other side of it. Of course, this piqued NASA's interest, and they conducted multiple studies in order to collect data. It was a few months after the initial discovery when NASA detected something very strange. A strange radio signal was detected, somewhere in our solar system, and the source and cause were unknown until NASA traced the radio signal back to its source: the anomaly. The radio signal itself consisted of a long, high-frequency sound, changing pitch and volume every few seconds, every time in a different order and selection. After the noise was traced and the source was found, NASA made every effort to study the anomaly. They sent a probe to the anomaly, and the probe took samples of the solid matter, the objects near the anomaly, and the materials that seemed to be emitting from the anomaly. Upon further study and investigation, NASA discovered that there was a slight gravitational pull, but instead of pulling any objects near the anomaly to it, the anomaly had an opposite gravitational pull, sending objects out of it. That's when an even bigger realization took place, something that was completely new to human eyes. Despite how insane it sounded, all the data, all the research and observations concluded that the anomaly was most likely a wormhole. In the history of space exploration, an actual cosmic wormhole had never been photographed or seen, and some even debated on the existence of wormholes. Yet, a genuine wormhole was discovered right beside the Moon. After the probe was sent back to Earth, it was decontaminated, and the scientists and researchers at NASA and the American Space Agency studied and analyzed it. And what the studies concluded was extremely interesting. In some of the solid matter that came out of the anomaly, a meteor particle, there were traces of organic matter on the meteor. At first, the scientists ran tests several times again, but no matter what they did, the conclusion never changed. There was biological matter on the rocks. And even stranger, the biological matter seemed to come from a living organism. The tests did not, and could not conclude what the organism was, but it definitely did not come from anywhere on Earth. And if the anomaly really was a wormhole, then there was a slim chance that the organism, the biological matter belonged to, did not even come from our universe or plane of reality. In time, after even more funding, a second probe was sent to the anomaly, but not to collect samples and photos, but to go in and through the anomaly itself. The probe was equipped with the best cameras, audio receivers, and fuel money could buy. After 3 days of traveling to the location of the anomaly itself, the probe arrived within 100 meters. The video feed the researchers back at NASA received was amazing. They could see the anomaly pulsating and emitting different hues of light, some of which were invisible to the human eye. Once the anomaly reached within 10 meters of the anomaly, the video and audio feed began to get fuzzy and spotty, but it remained functional. The anomaly finally entered the wormhole, and it went through at incomprehensible speeds, traveling through a tunnel that swayed and moved just like the surface of the water. Then, the connection was lost, and the video feed cut out. NASA kept sending probe after probe until the cost of the lost probes was too much, and they had to come up with a better and more efficient solution. The idea of sending an astronaut through the anomaly was immediately shot down. The gravitational waves of a wormhole would immediately crush and kill any living organism that went through. But that was until NASA developed a spacecraft, one that could withstand any type of physical damage, from extreme pressures to gravitational force. NASA also developed a special spacesuit for the expedition. It was made with very durable material, woven together to make it nearly indestructible while keeping the flexibility in the suit. I was involved in the expedition because I was one of the astronauts chosen to go aboard the special spacecraft. The spacecraft itself looked like any other spaceship, but it was equipped with virtually indestructible metals to be able to survive the gravitational waves of an interdimensional wormhole. On January 5th, 2020, I boarded the spaceship, along with another astronaut, Louis. Once we were on the other side of the wormhole, Louis and I were directed to explore whatever was on the other side, using advanced space maneuvering technology and high-tech cameras. And believe it or not, we were also equipped with weapons. The scientists declared that there was a possibility that life on the other side of the anomaly, whether intelligent or not, could be hostile. So we were also equipped with M4 carbines, equipped with armor-penetrating rounds, and modified to be able to fire bullets in space or gravity-insufficient environments. Since we were astronauts, we didn't know how to shoot military guns, and we had to take a 2-day crash course. There was also a risk that we wouldn't come back from the mission alive, but that was a risk I was willing to take. A few hours after the spacecraft took off, the spacecraft got steady enough that we could talk. From how far we were, the wormhole was nothing more than a bright purple blip that was getting closer every passing second. "Holy shit," Louis said, talking into the built-in radio in his spacesuit. "I can see the anomaly." "Are you excited?" I asked. "A little, but I'm shitting bricks right now. What do you think we'll see on the other side?" "Whatever is on the other side, whether friendly or not," I replied. We were now only a mile away from the wormhole, and even from here, it was getting a little hard to keep our eyes open due to the light. We stayed silent for a while until the spaceship was about 50 meters away from the wormhole. My heart was beating out of my chest, and adrenaline pumped through every square inch of my body as we approached the wormhole. Before I knew it, the spaceship collided and went into the wormhole, and in an instant, a huge flash of light exploded around us as we went through the interdimensional tunnel at nearly light speed. I felt the pressure and force mound up on my body, and for the longest 10 seconds in my life, I went through the most intense pain I had ever felt. But before I knew it, we exited the wormhole, and we were on the other side. Dazed, I picked up the radio. "Houston," I said, "we fucking made it." Only static came back. I'd partially expected this because we couldn't expect to stay in communication after we had exited the wormhole to the other side. I looked out of the window, and for a second, I thought we were still in our universe. But then, as excitement flooded my body, the small pieces started to click. The planets didn't look bare. They were lush and full of colours, but a lot of the colours were some I had never seen before, and some colours I couldn't describe. Once I took in the new universe's features, Louis and I did what we came here to do: explore one of the habitable planets. We drove the ship down into the orbit of the closest habitable planet. The planet was lush and green, and it was the most similar one to ours. Once we went into the orbit of the planet, I could see the surface and terrain of the planet, and I detected that something was wrong. The planet was lush and green, with bodies of liquid and sustained oxygen, and it should have been full of alien life, but there wasn't a single intelligent life form on the planet. The spacecraft landed, and we stepped out, holding out guns at the ready. The planet's air looked very well breathable, but I wasn't going to take chances by taking off my helmet. "There's something wrong with this place," I said. "And what's that?" Louis asked. "There's water, oxygen, and vegetation, but there aren't any intelligent organisms." I was right. There was vegetation, but it was only some kind of moss and a few fern-like alien plants. "You're right," Louis said. "There's no life here." Then I spotted something strange in the distance. It was a structure resembling something like an ancient Egyptian temple and built out of some unknown material. I showed Louis the structure, and we walked towards it. Upon closer inspection, we saw that it was actually a large doorway leading into a corridor, measuring about 50 feet tall and 20 feet wide. The corridor went diagonally down a staircase built on the diagonal floor of the corridor. The structure was clearly not built by or meant for humans. Each step was 1 meter apart, and the whole build of the structure was absolutely massive. "Should we go in?" I asked. "Yeah. Keep your guard up. We don't know what's out there." Pfft. Obvious fuckingly. We jumped down each step, holding our rifles, until the last stair step led to a very tall hallway leading to a very large hallway. There were gigantic hieroglyphics on the ancient walls depicting gigantic beings and monsters of hideous and massive proportions, resembling giant entities with tentacles, strange appendages, and feelers, all attached to a large, fleshy body. In the large temple room, there was an enormous statue of a deity, which depicted an enormous creature with enormous eyes covering its body, which consisted of tentacles, legs, and other appendages. There were smaller statues of alien-like creatures surrounding the main statue, seemingly serving and worshipping it. And I have to mention that when we walked into the temple, we had not made a single sound. But as Louis took pictures of the statues and hieroglyphics, he knocked over a smaller statue, about 10 feet tall, behind him, and it fell to the ground and shattered. Immediately, I heard a sliding noise coming from one of the walls, and a hidden door opened, and a hideous creature burst out, screeching and attacking us. It was about 50 feet long, snake-like, but it had no head. Instead, dozens of tooth-filled mouths were all over the creature, snapping and biting at us. It was reddish-green in color, with several tendrils sprouting at the base of the creature's midsection. The creature's mass was made up of rotting flesh, with holes and tendrils. Its tail lashed out and hit me, but the armor of the spacesuit protected me, and I stood up unscathed. I shot at the creature, but the bullets only irritated it. Louis screamed, unloading his magazine into the creature. We quickly climbed up the massive stairs and ran out of the underground temple as the creature pursued us. I had never run so fast in my life, and I almost threw up in my spacesuit. But if we stopped running, the creature would kill us. We got in the spacecraft and took off, just as the creature caught up to us. As we ascended into the sky of the planet, I looked down, saw something enormous emerge from underground, and ripped apart the creature that had been pursuing us. Nearly in orbit, we could see that the entity was at least 40 miles large, and it was identical to the creature the enormous statue had depicted. We were never meant to explore other universes, of what other untold cosmic horrors lie beyond our reach. I hope we never find out.